All right, good evening, Gopher fans, and welcome to an exciting episode of Sky U Pod, your College Huddle Golden Gopher football podcast. Today, we're going to break down the upcoming opening game against the Buffalo Bulls, and joining us today is John from Bullseye Nation to discuss what this upcoming matchup is going to look like. John, thanks for joining us, man. How are you all doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Glad to be with you. How's life treating you guys up there in the Twin Cities?
Today it's hot, at least for me. I'm in the upstairs of my old house here, and all the humidity is sitting here right now. So if you see me profusely sweating, I'm not nervous. It's the temp up here. But another week closer to football. We got some early football this upcoming Saturday. Um, it's the best time of the year. I'm just excited for the season to start. And yeah, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely happy to be here, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Well, we do have a list of questions for you just to break down this Buffalo Bulls team. Frankly, we do see some MAC schools, usually year after year, kind of in our out of conference slate, but we don't know a ton about the Buffalo Bulls. So we'll just kind of shoot off some questions for you here and go from there. So, my first question for you, John, is just your coach, Pete Lembo. He's coming off a great first season, I think. So, what was the biggest change that he had made to this Buffalo Bulls team compared to maybe some previous staffs?
I think the biggest thing that he did when he came in, because they brought him over from South Carolina, he brought and instilled a winning culture, a belief into that locker room. And that the reason that was so important is because under their previous head coach Maurice Lindquist, and certainly, or as we called him, Coach Mo. I don't want to put anyone down, but there was a growing feeling that a lot of the players did not connect with him. And so I think what Lembo did coming in, bringing that credibility and that winning culture and attitude, so huge because all the players just bought into it. They brought in a whole new staff. Joe Bowen is the defensive coordinator. I thought that was a home run move. It made that defense just incredible. And, even though they're going to be missing Sean Dolak, who graduated, who was a tackling machine for them, I think what Lembo's been able to do by bringing in Bowen and making these changes in credibility, he's laid the foundation for a winning formula that I expect to continue this year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the results were obviously noticeable in his first year. That's tough to do no matter where you're at. So building off that, I was surprised once I kind of took a little bit of deep dive at Buffalo Online, looking how much they brought back. So, what are the expectations this year for Buffalo fans? Like, what are they expecting out of this season?
They're expecting to compete for the MAC championship. They missed it. They missed the title game going to Detroit basically by a game last year. And that was on a controversial ruling in an overtime loss on a fumble. And so basically, a lot of UB fans went from feeling very down about the program to, holy cow, if it wasn't for that, we got gypped out of a MAC championship appearance last year. So I think that now the sky's the limit. It has reinvigorated this fan base. And I think that they should be considered one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the MAC. They can go head to head with the likes of Northern Illinois, Ohio, Toledo. I put UB right there. And I think that's what a lot of fans are expecting this year now, too.
Yeah, the article I read had Buffalo second. So, I just want your opinion. Do you think Toledo's the biggest threat? I've seen a lot of people maybe have them as a sneaky pick as the potential college football playoff appearance out of them. What's your opinion on the conference?
I get why a lot of people pick them, but UB on the road against Toledo has struggled, so I could see why. But at home, they've beaten them the last 2 times they played, and they've had some really good classic brawls with them the last couple times.
Yeah.
At one game, I think they were down 17 at half, and they came back and won the game against Toledo. So I think UB actually could feel confident they'd go toe to toe with them. To me, I think it comes down to the MAC East that they have to get through to get to the MAC championship, and more specifically, the Ohio Bobcats. They're a team that they go on the road to Peden Stadium, and it's a house of horrors for UB. They have had a hard time winning there, and they're always a thorn in the side. And now Ohio has started to beat UB even in Buffalo. So for me, that's the team I look at. That if UB is going to get to where they believe they can go, I think you gotta find a way to beat Ohio.
Yeah,
Makes
that makes
sense.
sense. It's a pretty good breakdown. I I love the MAC. I love MAC football. I always think it's exciting. I think there's a lot better football than a lot of people give it credit for. And I guess with
Oh
the
yeah,
run
you
you
gotta
guys had,
you gotta love the Maction.
Oh
exactly,
Maction.
It's the
yeah,
yeah,
best. When
exactly.
you brought up
the
the controversial fumble, I was going to say, is that not the most Mac thing to happen on a bad call of a fumble costing a team a title spot or a conference championship a spot? It's not just
I
like a Mac
think
thing to happen, I feel like.
I think it's such a Mac thing, but I think you also got to remember where the Bulls are based out of. I think it's a very much a Buffalo sports thing to have happen.
I mean, we're
Because
Minnesota here, so we don't got it much better.
yeah, that's true. But Buffalo, I mean, it's just like it's like putting a hat on a hat. It fits
Yeah.
perfectly. For that to happen to a Buffalo
Right.
team. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was unfortunate. Not a good luck for the Mac to have something like that happen. Obviously, looking back at the game now that I've had time to reflect, and so have the fans. There are other things that went wrong in that game that we could have done better to win the game. Um, but obviously, anytime your league gets embarrassed like that, it's not a good thing. But all you can
Yeah.
do,
Right.
and Buffalo has plenty of experience of this. You gotta just sink it deep down inside you. You gotta forget about it, and you gotta move on. And I think that's what this UB football team is going to look to do this season. Just use it as extra motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, based on that, for how much success you guys did have last year, are you surprised by the lack of portal entries that your team had, or does that seem like that kind of speaks to the Pete Lembo culture that he's brought in?
Um, I think it speaks to the culture. I mean, was it surprising? Yes and no. I mean, generally you would think you'd get more based on having a successful season, but you got to remember again, Buffalo. They don't get a ton to begin with, so it's not the biggest shock. I think the more important thing, Max, is what you just said, that the culture and the foundation is laid. And since so many people are coming back, it is surprising, but I don't think it's going to be detrimental at all to what this Bulls team can accomplish this year.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
just looking through the roster, at least according to Athlon, you guys have, you know, all MAC running back coming back, an all MAC receiver coming back. He's got predicted at least two all MAC offensive linemen, two all MAC linebackers back. So to have all those coming back, especially the linemen, to me, say what you want about the jump in conference play to conference play, maybe from like the MAC to like the SEC or the Big Ten, but like old linemen come at a premium. So if you showed anything, usually their school is coming and calling to come and get you to try and leave. So yeah, props to the coaching staff for keeping all those guys intact. That's really impressive. With that, there is a new face in town for you guys at quarterback. Just what are your thoughts on him? It looks like he's kind of been a journeyman so far. Just what you're hearing and what your expectations are out of him.
So here's my thing about that. I like that he is. UB is no stranger to having journeymen come in. It's been that way with quarterbacks the last couple times around, both either incoming or then leaving to go somewhere else. So UB's played this game before, um, so they're very familiar. As far as the quarterback himself, obviously Kansas State. You like getting it from a higher school. I know that that's not exactly where he's coming from, but like he's been there. Um, so for me, the question is going to be we know he can run, but the fact that his arm is projected to be better, that the passing game, UB has always been offensively under Lembo, really even under Coach Mo when he was here. It's been a run first offense. There has been no doubt about it. When they have won games, it's because they get 4 or 5 touchdowns from 2 or 3 different running backs. That has been how they win football games. Um, so if you can add a passing element to it, and especially like you were saying, Kurt, some of the wide receivers like Victor Snow, if you can add that passing element, and I believe they can with Roberson, I think it's just going to make this UB team that much more dangerous. So, and also since he's played at bigger colleges, I'll be curious to see how he comes out against Minnesota. Obviously, it's not a game UB's favored to win. We get it. But he has a little more experience playing bigger teams like this. So I'll be curious to see how he takes leadership and takes charge of some of the UB players that are not used to playing a team like Minnesota that often.
Yeah. Talk about your running back a little bit. I believe he was second All MAC last year, if I read correctly.
He
So
was all
a
Jay
lot of
Henderson.
returning production there. Just what makes him so good?
Hard to tackle. Um, very good at making the first tackler miss. And when he gets into the open field, look out. He can
Yeah.
turn on the afterburners and he is gone. I think the other thing is that he fights for the yards afterwards. Like it'll look like the defense has him stopped behind the line, and he'll just keep it like a battering ram. His feet will keep churning, and he'll gain 4 or 5. Some of the toughest 5 or 6 yard gains I think I've ever seen in college football because the guy just will not go down. And I think that that's a tribute to him and his toughness. And I think that that's the blue collar that fits Buffalo and this UB offense perfectly. So I think that and the fact he's so hard to bring down, that makes all Jay Henderson a top running back, at least on this UB football team.
That's great. Yeah, you kind of alluded to sort of this blue collar, sort of chip on your shoulder mentality, maybe that this Buffalo football team has. So, what does Buffalo not get enough credit for, in your opinion?
I think they don't get enough credit for how they've been able to build and maintain a competitive team in the MAC year after year. They've kind of flown on the radar. Yes, they've had a couple seasons that have gone in the dumps, but you can pretty much say that about any team in the MAC. It goes up and down. But UB really since 2008 when they finally won the MAC and they finally got on the map there, ever since then, they've generally have been right in the mix for either a bowl appearance, right in the mix for the MAC until the last couple of weeks of the season. And I think that with all the changes and how many times you continue to hear about, well, the players are just going to leave Buffalo and it's not so attractive, I think that it's easy to overlook the fact that the Bulls have been, for the most part, a pretty competitive team in the MAC for at least I'd say the last 15 or so years. So, and that's going through 3 or 4 different athletic directors, like 5 different head coaches. So, despite all that change, the fact that they could find a way to at least remain relatively competitive for the most part, I think it's a testament to the school and how much they care about putting a winning football team on the field for their fans, such as myself.
Yeah. So it sounds like offensive style was we'll see a lot of the run game, maybe some quarterback run with the athletes you guys got. Talk about a little bit about the defense. What can we expect? What kind of style? Like, is it aggressive? Do they try and keep everything in front of them? What can we expect out of the defense?
I think under Bowen you will see probably more of a mix. I think you may see them not be as aggressive right at the start. I think a lot of times they like to feel out what the other team is going to try to do offensively, and then they start to dial up the pressure. But that's generally going off when they're playing a MAC team or some other level. Now, playing a team like Minnesota that they know if they let them get out to that early lead, like could be big trouble. Um, I would say, I would say, tend to expect that they might be a little bit more aggressive early in the game because they want to try to keep Minnesota under wraps as best as they can to give themselves a chance to win it. Um, so I would say probably a little bit more aggressive for this game, but generally it's been more of a mix under Bowen.
Um, that I'm double checking the stats here because one of your returning linebackers, let me get his name right here. Murdoch,
Yes,
16 and a half tackles for a loss last year. Is that right?
that
That's
is
insane.
correct.
And
Yep.
and 7 forced fumbles. So when I hear a disruptive linebacker just blowing up offenses, I can't help but think Khalil Mack. Please tell me he's not like Khalil Mack out there.
I was just gonna say, and you know what's funny is that Red Murdoch's actual first name is Khalil, also. So UB,
Great.
whenever it comes to linebackers with the name Khalil, UB seems to be pretty good. Yes, he is definitely someone that's very good at separating players from the football. He could certainly now. I will say some of that. Um, it helped that he had, like I said, the tackling machine Sean Dolak with him last year. He's not going to have him this year now due to the fact that Dolak graduated. So that may impact him a little bit, but still, as far as players to watch on the defensive side of the ball for UB, I know it's not what you want to hear, Kurt, but
It's
yeah,
not.
Murdoch
Here,
is the real deal, and
here's
I'm
where
looking forward to seeing how he does
yeah.
against like Minnesota.
Here's where I'm at. So, everyone's expecting Minnesota to come out, as the spread shows, win somewhat comfortably. We don't need to bring up Bowling Green. It happens. We've lost these games in the past. So here's what I'm worried about. It just sounds like Buffalo seems like a great opening test for kind of the biggest question marks us Gopher fans have. You look at the offense; they want to be heavy dosage running the football. It sounds like one of the biggest questions about the Gophers defense this year is the front seven's depth and ability to hold up against teams that want to try run against them. Now, I'm assuming against Buffalo we might have a little bit of advantage up front, just the different school size, but it is still a great opening test for us to see, especially when Buffalo's returning some great athletes like you've laid out. And then other side of the ball, our offense, we have 3 new offensive line, and all 5 guys are playing a new spot this year, at least spots that they weren't playing last year. So going up against a somewhat disruptive front, I don't know. I just think this one could get tighter than what the average Gopher fan is expecting just looking at this game on paper.
And here's what I'll say to that, Kurt, is that I do think UB can keep this game close. I would say in the first or second quarter. I think historically, if you want some reason to feel good as far as the Gophers are concerned, is that UB historically does not tend to perform very well in these types of games. I don't believe they've beaten anybody out inside a top 20 team in their history. I mean, they did upset Northern Illinois last year, but they're a MAC team and they were 24th, I believe, at the time they did that. So I think, given past history, I think Minnesota should probably feel confident that they're going to win. But I'll say this: I think UB can give the Gophers a challenge in the first half, and then ultimately, I kind of relate it to when they played Maryland a couple years ago. That was a game where UB was in it in the first half, and they played better than expected, especially on defense. But what started to happen is when you got into that third quarter, Maryland's talent started to wear down UB. And I think that that's sort of similar to what I think we're going to see here, where UB in the first quarter or two, because they're not used to seeing each other, might be able to surprise Minnesota with a couple of
Sure.
things. But then I think the talent that the Gophers have will start to wear down Buffalo, and more so in the second half.
Got a couple comments here. I just want to run them by you, John. Dave Valensky, who Dave chimes in here quite a bit. I have Toledo beating Buffalo in the MAC championship game. So seems to be a popular pick. I don't know.
Yeah,
Curly Big Cat says Gophers by 50. I'd be surprised. I really would. I mean, I
yeah,
hope so as a Gopher fan, but I
yeah.
agree. I think it's a tough close.
I listen, I see what Curly's saying. I could see why he'd feel that way. Probably, Minnesota at home. I don't think it'll be by 50, but
It,
I do have Minnesota winning by, I would say, about 3 touchdowns.
okay. So, any players that we didn't bring up that you think Gopher fans should just be aware of, and then I guess going off of that, go ahead and feel free to give your score prediction.
Sure. Let's see. Well, we mentioned his name once, but I will mention it again. Is Victor Snow, the wide receiver? He has been known for making big catches in big situations, and we just mentioned the Northern Illinois game, the upset they pulled against the number 24 ranked Huskies, and it would not have happened if Victor Snow didn't make at least 2 or 3 catches that were almost just had my jaw drop. Like, did he seriously catch that? I almost had to adjust my TV screen to believe that he actually reeled those in. So, uh, Victor Snow is somebody I would say keep an eye on. Um, I mean, I think we really did hit on a lot of the key the key
Sure.
players. Um, but Snow is somebody I think we just need to give a little more love to.
Yeah.
Really came on because especially he came out of nowhere. He was not really expected to rise up the ranks as far as the receiving core, at least not in my eyes and not in a lot of Bulls fans' eyes. And all of a sudden he did, and it's just a great story. And just there's nothing better than that when a player that's not expected all of a sudden becomes a leading producer for your team. I'm sure the Gophers have had plenty of players like that. You can't help but feel good about that. So I'm
Right.
excited to see how Snow's going to produce against Minnesota. As far as score prediction, I'm gonna say Minnesota 38, Buffalo 17.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
more points than I thought you were going to say, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I like that. I have a similar feel to the game right now. I think it does start out a little close, especially just with we have a lot of new young faces on our offense, and I think Buffalo could take advantage of that early on. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were pretty good at forcing turnovers last year, were they not? I thought that's what I read. So, um, young quarterback, want them to avoid that. I have 30-14 Gophers, so that's a half point cover for Buffalo. That's what I went with. Max, Shody, what are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I have a similar point differential. I've got the Gophers winning 27-10. I think it'll be lower scoring. I think PJ is going to probably want to try and just control the clock, control the game, like you mentioned. Younger guys on offense early on. I think it's going to be a little bit conservative, but also just letting Darius Taylor do his thing. It's just going to be a matter of how productive can the offensive line be. But I have a little more, I guess, a slower, low scoring opening game.
Sure.
Yeah. Very similar, like all of you. I think the Gophers do win this 34-10. I do think again it'll be kind of slow, like you're saying, but I do think eventually the Gophers will just kind of go with their bread and butter, which is running the football and see what they can do on the ground.
Here's the other thing. If I could just throw in another thought,
Yeah.
that for UB generally in these types of games, there comes a moment or two, and this is why I say 38-17 because I think Minnesota is going to blow it open in the second half. Um, all of a sudden, something starts to go wrong, And when they're playing like a top 25 school, all of a sudden that one mistake, like they throw an interception or a fumble or even a turnover on downs, and it'll snowball and it'll parlay into quickly a touchdown or two. And I think the Gophers are a team that, especially because they like to run the football, with their speed, can certainly take advantage of that. And that's what I think is going to happen. It could be a 21-17 game into the third, and then all of a sudden UB doesn't execute on something, and Minnesota scores, and now it's look out. One touchdown, two
Right.
touchdowns, and before you know it, game's over. I That's what I see.
Yeah. Um, John, that's all I got. I really appreciate you coming on. Why don't you go ahead and let people know where they can find your social media, your podcast at, and
Sure.
feel free to plug yourself.
Yeah, on so I host Bullseye Nation. It's me and my friend Norm Rodriguez. We talk about every UB Bulls game afterwards. Uh, so I'm on Twitter, Dub Broadcaster J. Also Instagram, and on YouTube, John Karuba. You can find Bullseye Nation mainly on SoundCloud, because it's an audio podcast. Um, but SoundCloud is the biggest place, I would say, where you can get all the episodes. And feel free to check them out. Love to get some audience from Minnesota, um, especially ahead of the season opener. So, but good luck
Yeah,
to you
absolutely.
guys season. Good luck to you guys in the game. Obviously, we're going to be hoping for different results, but I think we all
Right.
know probably how this is going to turn out. But really appreciate you having me on. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
You guys have a great podcast, and appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, John. And yeah, everyone go check him out. He is our Buffalo Bulls college huddle correspondent. So appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You
Thank you,
too.
See
John.
ya. Thanks, John.
Well, that was awesome. Again, that was John. John is the Buffalo Bulls representative for the College Huddle at Bullseye Nation. Go check him out, as he said. Yeah, I think he gave great points of this Buffalo football team, guys. I think they're going to be a solid team, and it's not something that the Gophers should overlook. Um, Curly coming in again saying spread is only 16. Is everyone picking the Gophers to cover? I am. Um, Again, my score prediction is 34-10. So I do think that the Gophers can get that done. But I would not be surprised if it doesn't cover.
If he's referring to like the actual money, I think it's opened up at, I think it's last I saw it's at 16 and a half. Maybe it opened at 17, but it hasn't been much movement. So I think the money's been, I haven't looked at this, but I would assume the money's been pretty even, or I mean, or Vegas just feels that good about the line. It doesn't feel the need to
Oh,
adjust it
sure.
based on what's the money's coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah. Spang Stash, he chimes in here. Guys, I'll say it again. PJ has been the king of tempered expectations in the past, but he is not holding back on his excellent excitement about this team. I just listened to a show with Mike Grimm. I have to believe he thinks he has something special with this team. Yes, I am drinking the maroon and gold Kool-Aid. Wouldn't be the first time, but something seems different here. You know, as we get to the start of the season, Spangs, I'm kind of getting there too. He's getting more bold, and I don't know if that's for him or for the team or for both. But yeah, I mean, PJ talks a lot, but it you're right. Like, I think back to when our receiving core has been like, I don't know, should I name them? I won't name them, but like previous transfers and guys that maybe had younger brothers that we were actually trying to get more than them making plays out there. I just felt like he kind of hid them a little bit, and he's not really. I don't feel like he's hiding anybody right now. Like he's kind of talking openly about everything. Now I say that with I feel like there's still a lot of receivers we haven't heard about, but there's so many, and there's a lot of talk about Coy getting involved that I feel like they have enough playmakers there to do something. But yeah, I mean they've been really talking up the tight ends, the running backs, and I know O line cohesion is kind of the big question mark a lot of fans have, but if it was something they didn't feel like they could fix, I'm kind of with you. I don't think that they would be this excited, this open about it. They might be reeling the fans a little bit, but PJ said dream big, and we're doing it. Dave says last time I saw it was at 15. Okay, so it maybe moved a little here and there. I thought it opened at like 17, but maybe not. Maybe it is money is coming in on the Gophers a little bit. Curly Big Cat says agree. Drink, drink, drink. Yeah, I mean it's hard not to this close to the season, right? I mean it's it's right there, and you know last year we left some wins on the table. I'm sure a lot of teams feel that way, but you look at the schedule, and if the pieces hit, I know every team says this, but if the pieces hit, that you have a lot of young guys that you're high on, that you brought in some, experienced transfers. If it can just mix, then yeah, I think you can be in a lot of close football games with really good teams, and if they can go your way, then you might be looking at a special season. All right, fellas. So this is the last show before football starts. So that means it's the return of the Sky U Pod parlay. The game, our flocks of the week. I don't know. Did you look up our stats from last year, Max? How do we do? If you don't have it on you, it's all right. Yeah.
We did okay.
All right.
Well, this is where we can win all you listeners some good money. Unfortunately, it's yet another year where we cannot gamble in this state. Maybe that'll change next year. But if you are going on a road trip to any one of our neighbors, pretty much, you can certainly put down some cash money on our winning games this week.
Bet responsibly.
Yes. Please bet responsibly.
Always chase your losses.
Exactly.
I'll go first. I feel good about this
Let's hear
one.
it, Curdy. Oh, and
So
just to preface this, we are doing week 0 and week 1 combined.
Yeah.
So
we gave ourselves the option to pick a week 0 game or a week 1 game. Hold on. I got to get to this comment. Spinning says, Kurt, absolutely no disrespect, but love the shades. Giving off Dale from King of the Hill vibes. I appreciate that. And I totally see what you're saying now. Now I don't know if I can wear them next week. I'm aging quick, and I feel like the shades help me hide that. No, I wore them when we did that big or the Gopher draft, and I don't know. It's like a little character I'm in on for the show now, and so I'm kind of just keeping it. I would have the suit coat back on maybe for our post game wraps, be more professional around here. But yeah, I'll bring it back. Anyway, back to my lock. I'm going week 1, week 0. These games are scary, but surprisingly entertaining. I'm going week 1. I'm going Indiana. I'm a big believer in Kurt Signetti, what he's got going there. I think they reloaded. Indiana, minus 22.5. I know it's a big number. Over Old Dominion. I look at how Indiana started out last year. They were just rolling people. They were coming out ready, firing in all cylinders. They reloaded on offense. Their defense is still going to be good. Maybe not as deep, but still good. And Old Dominion, I don't know a lot about them, but I'm betting on that they're cheeks. So I'm going to take Indiana minus 22.5 over Old Dominion at the start.
Don't hate that.
I guess
Max,
I'll go next.
Max, I'm just going to say your mic seems to have gotten quieter here. So if you want to just mess with that.
All right.
You're pretty quiet, but that's okay. Shorty, go ahead, give your pick.
Every year, I don't know if I've gotten a week 1 pick right. I don't think. But this year, I'm going to change that for all of you listeners here. I'm starting at week 0, and I'm going the late night on Saturday. I'm going to go Stanford at Hawaii. Hawaii is 2.5-point favorites. Give me the Cardinal to cover that and maybe get the win at Hawaii.
Those games are terrifying. I do not like sprinkling money
I-
on those at all.
I'm just gonna, the Cardinal.
I like it.
Growing up, Stanford was a formidable foe. We remember those games with Andrew Luck and winning those Rose Bowls. Maybe this year they can pick it up. We'll see. They play Hawaii. is on the road, I could imagine that that's a little tough to travel as a college kid. But yeah, we'll see.
I like it. You're much braver than we are, Spencer. You definitely hit these games that are, I'll call them fun. um, yeah, I guess for my game, I know there's a lot of turnover on this team, but it's more just a fade of their opponent. I'm taking Tulane. The line I saw was -6 or 6.5 against Northwestern. They get him at home. They get Retzlaff from BYU. Hopefully, he's figured his situation out, and I don't even know if they actually named him the starter yet, but I don't know.
You're
Tulane's a
you're
solid
doubting
squad.
our alumni, Max? David
Yeah, I
Braun,
guess
Winona State, baby.
they had a tough one last year. I know they've had turnover maybe for the better as well, but I
Yeah,
don't know. I
yeah.
like them more than a touchdown. I'll say that.
All right, fair enough. We'll see what
Roll
Preston Stone
wave.
does. Dave's got a couple of comments here. I got in an argument with North Dakota State. I'm assuming he means fans. He said that they were getting four of the in-state recruiting. And of course, he was wrong. North Dakota State, great football team. Dumb fans. Oh, out of Minnesota, I'm sure they do grab plenty of recruits from here, but it's yeah. I mean, we got the top ones for sure. The last handful.
Yeah.
I can't think the last time a top, you know, 5 recruit in the state went to North Dakota State over the Gophers. That just doesn't really happen. But
No.
yeah, North Dakota State, they do have a proud fan base for how, and a great program for the sub 1 Division A, or is that what they're still called, the FCS? Anyway, great program, but yeah, they like to talk smack, and it's not the same when you don't have to play all the big boys week in and week out. Dave also says Stanford doesn't care about football until they play Cal. That's kind of another thing to keep in mind with that pick.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe Hawaii doesn't care until they get that new stadium built. You see that what they got going
Yeah.
on there? Building like I don't remember the price. It was like a $200 or $400 million stadium. Looked nice. I mean, you're in Hawaii. It's tough to make bad views around that stadium. So,
Right.
Yeah. Stanford, doesn't they have Frank Reich coaching now for the year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So that's
Yeah,
I'm
and
just thinking that they, Reich in the NFL, he had some bad moments, but I do think that he's a solid coach. He knows how to work with quarterbacks too, so maybe he can get some out of this game.
Andrew Luck's working as their basically, I don't even know if it's athletic director. It is his general manager. It seems like for now, just trying to get the sports program just heading the right direction with all the NIL stuff. Which you would think Stanford and how smart they are, and I'm sure they do. I gotta imagine they have a lot of donors to throw money at the program. You would think, but then it's just kind of a weird thing if they got left behind. They're in the ACC, but all the way out west. It's kind of a weird situation there. And let's be honest, they have probably higher standards than a lot of programs.
Yeah, their
for
academics
the
are probably rigorous.
Anyway, I don't hate the picks.
Yeah, but with that too, I didn't put this on a script, but I am looking at 5. So year after year, we also like to pick 5 of our opinion, the most exciting games coming up. So we will each pick the over or under in these games here. Again, week 0 and week 1. Starting off week 0, which is a really big game out of the Big 12. Iowa State is at Kansas State, and Kansas State is a 3-point favorite. Who do you guys got?
Yeah, I don't like that this game is next week because it's just tough to know. One team might be better, and you don't know who's showing up ready. As we know, Gophers have been a slow starting team the last handful
I think
of
this
years.
is the Ireland game. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. So that's another factor to throw in. Listen, I almost picked Kansas State to win the conference. I had them losing to Arizona State in the conference championship. So I'm going to go with Kansas State and just stick to my gut that they're the better team. They're going to cover that spread. I don't love it. That's why I didn't make it my lock, but should be a great game. But give me Kansas State. I almost picked the over, though. I think Kansas State's going to score points this year. So I almost picked the over in this as my lock, but I stayed away.
Yeah, I I agree. I think Kansas State's gonna be really good as well, but I'm gonna pick Iowa State just because of the chaos. It's week 0 in
Yeah.
Ireland, and Iowa State. I know they lost some receivers, but they still have their quarterback coming back. And then on the
Rocco.
other side of the ball, Avery Johnson's been tough to trust at times. So maybe going over to Ireland is not gonna help in that equation. But I'm gonna take the Cyclones, and hopefully they can keep it
Or
close.
on the contrary, isn't he ginger a little bit? Maybe it's coming to his own and he just flame on, lights it up over there.
I don't know if he is or not. I should
All right.
know.
Should he?
I'm going to go with Kansas State. They're one of the teams that I think can maybe make the college football playoff as maybe either conference champs out of the Big 12 or maybe one of those runner-ups that kind of sneak in. So,
Yeah.
got
Dave,
them.
I agree. He says he doesn't like that it's in Dublin and not at Ames.
Yeah, it's
So I get it. Like it's a cool experience for the players to get to go travel. I actually don't like that it's a conference game though, because I'm with you. I like having those on campus with the uh, on campus atmosphere. So I get it. Although I guess the argument there is that these two teams will play again in Ames and just probably in the next year or two, right? So I guess that's the flip side of doing it for a conference game and not a non-conference game where it might be more unique. But no, I agree, Dave. I like keeping games on campus as much as possible.
yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next game. This is in actual week 1 here. Let me just pull it up here. Let's see. The big one, Saturday, August 30th. Texas is at Ohio State at 11 a.m. on Fox, big noon kickoff. Ohio State's 2-point favorites. Very big game to start off the season. I'm going to go with Ohio State. I think that they have a chance to run it back this year. No better way to prove it than beating who's a lot of people are projecting Texas to be the national champions this year. So
Could be a title game preview.
Buckeyes sure can, yeah.
I'm with you, Shruti. I don't have much to add. I think it's a defensive battle. Both really good defenses returning. It sounds like Texas's D line has been posting the Ohio State quarterback on their Instagram story like he's their target or whatever. And I get it, it's a new QB, but I really like Ohio State's weapons. I feel like that's the best situation to be a brand new quarterback playing for the first time. So, and Arch Manning hasn't played much football himself, so it's not like he's just gonna know everything. I mean, maybe he's a Manning, but
Walk
yeah,
into the
I think
shoe and just win.
I think it's a defensive battle, close game, but I think Ohio State gets it done.
Agreed. I got the Buckeyes.
Easy peasy. 3 for 3. Another game that maybe not won't be as close, but who knows? But it's a cool kind of historic matchup. Alabama is at Florida State. Alabama's 13.5-point favorites on the road. I think I got to go with Bama here, fellas. I think that given the history of Florida State, they do have the potential to climb back, be that undefeated team that they were just a number of years ago. But after seeing that terrible drop off, I just don't know if they can compete with the likes of an Alabama. So I got the Crimson Tide.
I get it. I That's just a huge number to go into a hostile environment, and Florida State added some nice pieces. So I, I am admittedly a little bit of a Florida State fan, so maybe I'm a little blinded here. I just like cheering for them, but that's a big spread at home and to start the year too. So I'll take Florida State to cover the points.
Yeah, it is big enough to make me think, but it also makes me think that Alabama's going to win by 20. So for that
Yeah,
reason, I'm taking the Tide.
fair enough.
Fair enough. All right, our next game here. Just give me just a second here. Is a really big one too. I mean, there's a lot of good matchups coming up.
Week one and week this is one of the better week ones in
It
recent memory.
is. Um, LSU is at Clemson, and Clemson is 4-point favorites. Uh, I'll say this. In our last episode, I said that I think it's going to be a Buckeye Tigers national championship
Which
matchup.
Tigers?
The Clemson Tigers.
Yeah.
Sorry, not definitely not
I
Auburn.
remembered. It's
Um,
just for the audience.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, yeah, and I just think that they're going to be a really good team. I think that they'll be able to cover this spread of 4 points. So yeah, got Clemson.
So, yeah, I have both of these teams in the college football playoff as well. I also have Clemson as my predicted winner, I should say, of the Natty. But I think this game's going to be really close. I think 4 points is bigger than I thought it was going to be. I know it's a home game, but I'll take LSU to cover. But I think Clemson still wins in a close game.
Yeah, I agree, Kurt. I think I would probably take whoever's getting the points here. I think it's going to come down to the wire. But I agree. I think Clemson wins, but it's gonna be really close. So I'll take LSU in the 4 points.
All right. And then, gosh, how many has that been?
We'll
Is
do
that
one more.
four?
If you got one
One
you like,
more.
we can do one more.
One more. This one's fun. This is on Sunday. Notre Dame is at Miami. Kind of that old school matchup. Notre
It
Dame,
is.
2.5-point favorites. Give me them Irish. I think that the Irish will pull that off.
Yeah, they really want Miami to be good, and I get it. Like, it looks like they should be good, but I just got to see it. I got to see them put it together a little bit better. So I'm with you. It's pretty. I'm going to take the Irish as well.
Same here. I Miami could be explosive and exciting and fun, but Notre Dame, that defense
Only
is
thing
legit.
is the quarterback for Notre Dame. I'm sure they have a stud up and coming. It's a new guy, right? And so that's kind of been something that's held them back in the past. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are all of our picks, fellas. Anything else?
Let's get to the season, baby. Gophers start strong. I think this will test the weaknesses just enough, or our projected weaknesses, I should say, that it's a good get right before the season. And yeah, I think it's should be a fun one. I'll be there, so if you see me, I'll wear these shades, I guess, if this is my new thing on the show, and you can come find me and what up. But
Yeah. All right. Well, Gopher fans out there, that'll do for another preview episode of Sky U Pod for the upcoming season. Just 9 days until kickoff for the Gophers. And we have some football this upcoming weekend, so that's exciting. We just wanted to take a moment and just say thank you, and we appreciate you all for tuning in and any of you who stuck around during the off season. This year is going to be a blast, and we can't wait to share it with you all. So just please like and subscribe to our channel, which can be found on YouTube, X, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to check out our partners' website, thecollegehuddle.com, for more podcasts and articles about all things college football. Thank you all again. Have a great night, and go Gophers.